came into this year with 4 major intentions, and that's kind of what we talked about on the podcast a year ago. The first one was to take radical responsibility for my thoughts and to really pay attention to which thoughts I choose to entertain. Thoughts come and go, but what I wanted to avoid was kind of what I was talking about before about like when we'd fight or things like that. Like I wanted to avoid spiraling into negative thoughts and negative self-talk, and to lean into kind of like more positive thoughts and affirming thoughts. And it's something that I would say I wasn't perfect, and none of these 4 were 100%, but looking at my life, like where I am right now versus where I was a year ago, this is something that throughout the course of the year I got significantly better at. I used to be I used to really struggle with negative self-talk, and kind of beating myself up in a lot of situations, and I don't do that anymore. And that's such a huge win. I'm going to celebrate that win. Yeah. That's a massive win for me, and I've really noticed the difference in just how I feel when I'm not berating myself and judging myself constantly. And
I do not mean to interrupt you. Just kind of got this download of, I wonder if that's where depression stems from. Like, we think of it like, oh, this person's depressed, like their life, their situation, but is it just because you're like, I just know because you would go into these deep, dark depressions.
Of course, yeah.
And it's like, all you do is beat yourself up.
Right.
But the doctors don't necessarily say, well, how is your internal dialogue? Are you comfortable with yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you show yourself the respect, the grace, the patience? Like, it's just like, oh, here, take this pill and let's hope that your like balance goes into whack.
Well, yeah, I think that's that sort of myth of the brain, the chemicals in my brain are out of balance and you need medication for it. Where it's, like, of course they are, because our thoughts are creating the hormones and chemicals in our brain. And if you're constantly beating yourself up, then of course the chemicals are going to be out of balance, and you're not going to present on like a blood test as being happy if you're not. But I think you're absolutely right. I think that it's...
I've never thought of it in this sense.
Yeah.
It's just clicked.
And it's just being like hung up on negativity, essentially. It's
which is, I feel everybody.
Yeah. And it's this judgment, right? And the idea of, for me, I think a lot of it is like believing I'm not good enough, or I want to be careful not to say this in the present tense. Like, sure. There was a version of me in the past who didn't believe he was worthy and didn't believe he was good enough and felt like he constantly needed to prove himself and didn't. So I would beat myself up and judge myself for not doing good enough based on a comparison that wasn't real. And it was this cycle of like, I would set a standard that was out of reach and then judge myself for not reaching it. And then I would get worse and worse because I'd be like shaming myself and beating myself up and like just obsessed with what was wrong, which I think is probably another definition of depression, just being obsessed with what you think is wrong.
Wow.
And like leaning into it. And I wanted to be really clear there that like, that's not who I am anymore. And I think that like a way to put this is like maybe like a lot of like the dark side of self-development, once you start going into like inner child and shadow work and really start putting your attention into like identifying what the problems are, the next step is letting them go.
Yeah.
And I think that so often we get hung up on, once you identify the problem, carrying it around. My shadow does this. My inner child does this. And you never take the next step and transcend it. And I was guilty of it for sure too. It's like it's like there's something validating in identifying the problem. And then once we have that validation, like we're almost like proud of it. And it becomes just like we drag around the same burden. We just have a name for it. And I think it's really important to, like, once you identify it, to also then take that next step and let it go. So what I want to be really cautious with, because this is actually the second intention that I had going into this year, was to own my language. And that's the words that I use and how I talk to myself and others, how I talk, what words I choose, how I say things. So when I started to say, like, before that, like, I do this or I have this, I was like, no. And that clearly shows me that I have done a really good job on both of these things, but on the language, because the way that I talk to myself, I don't allow myself to, like, beat myself up for things. I also don't allow myself to perpetuate old problems that just don't serve me anymore. So yeah, just to kind of a look into the way that, like, this just helps me and the way that I think and perceive the world, and how a year ago I would have worded this all very, very differently. But I have, like I said, I'm going to keep saying that I am a completely different person than I was a year ago. I'm a completely different person than I was a month ago.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And I love it. I'm not going back at all. But a big roadblock I think that a lot of people would have, and that I would have come across in the past, was to keep dragging these problems along. And then, like, you'd overcome it and then drag it along and overcome it again, and just creating this endless cycle, like Sisyphus, like pushing the rock up the hill, and then it just rolls back down and you're pushing the rock. It's like, no, I'm done. I left the rock at the bottom of the hill and just walked up, and I'm good. I'm moving on and I'm done. And we're going to talk a lot about Costa Rica and the kind of experience we had down there. I'm just going to point out, like, I went into that trip with the intention of almost like turning it into a rite of passage, and having this is the moment where I let that old version of myself completely die, and I just left him there. So it was like the culmination of 10 years of self-development, and, like, slowly learning and letting go, and, like, creating and changing patterns and all the things that I've done over the last 10 years. And then it was like a clean break. And I was able to have that moment where it was like, now I have a moment in time that I can point to and be like, that's where the old version of myself, or the version of myself that I thought I was supposed to be, officially died. And I stepped out of that ceremony as the version of myself that I know I am. So there's no going back. And a big part of it, it's like, these things are inevitable. I feel like we talked about earlier with your intention of, like, surrender. It's like, you forget about it, and it's, once that intention is set, it becomes inevitable. So I think I set these intentions to change the way I talk to myself, to change the way I think, and to choose what thoughts I'm entertaining. And I set that intention. And then the way that the year unfolded, like, there was no way I wasn't going to do it. I mentioned really early in the podcast, like, after setting these intentions, like, the next book I read was Letting Go. And it was like,
yeah, I know.
so it's like, okay, you have these intentions. This is how you do it. And I went hard into that book, and I really, like, every day I think about the things that I'm letting go, and then I let them go. I don't let them go again. So that's been huge for me.
Yeah, I think that it's, as much as we'll talk about Costa Rica, it's going to be hard to just put into words what we experienced and how we both saw the transformation happen. And it was like, I feel like I've used this term, and I'm going to continue to use it, like a beautiful destruction of who we both thought we were, and just leaving. We left a lot there, and you did too. And it was really emotional leaving that last day. Like, it was like, whew, it was stepping into the version of ourselves that we've been asking for and are ready for, and are ready to, turn into. And you did a lot of work there, and it was really cool and beautiful, and it was hard to see too, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
It, like,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. There was definitely work done, and there were some big steps taken. And yeah, like, it was sort of like, it was like the culmination of this past year, and plus like the years before it, where it was like, it came at the perfect time. Like it constantly blows my mind how, like, I just keep saying, like, it's inevitable. Like, these things are in place, and it's almost like I'm just observing myself going through this process that I had already created. So often we kind of set intentions, and then we try to micromanage them, and our ego is like, tries to tell us this is how it's going to be. Like, it's going to be rainbows and butterflies, and you take one step and then the next, and this is what it's going to look like, and this is how it's going to feel, and then you're going to be there, and you're going to achieve your goal, and you're going to be great.
Have you been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease and struggled to find ways to manage it naturally? Do you suffer from long-term digestive problems and have failed to find answers from mainstream or functional medicine? Are you experiencing long COVID or suspect you may have been adversely affected by products designed to treat or prevent this or other illnesses? The Immune Reset Program offers a proven track record with unparalleled results for those who suffer from chronic unresolved illnesses. This program is unlike any other, offering a comprehensive deep dive into every aspect of health, the immune system, the gut, and our mindset around healing. It comes with everything you'll need to quickly and permanently resolve challenging illnesses, including all lab work and custom compounded bioactive herbs and supplements in powdered form made just for you, without having to take dozens of pills, capsules, soft gels, or tinctures. Dr. Luke Terra, founder of the Evocentric Wellness Programs, offers a free initial consultation to deeply explore your health issues and help you develop a plan to move forward and address your most pressing health concerns today. Our Deep Life listeners will receive an additional month of care, a $3,000 value, absolutely free, when you join our program using the Deep Life podcast link. Visit the link in our show notes to access this incredible offer, or go directly to evocentrics.com/deeplife. That is Evocentrics, EVOCentrix.com/deeplife. DEEPLIFE to find out more and book your free call today.
And the way it really works is so unbelievably different from that.
Yeah.
And it's like I mentioned, I thought I was letting go of, some bad habits and some limiting beliefs and whatever. And what I ended up letting go of is who I thought I was. Mm. And that's a really, really like painful process to go through, because it was literally like, it was a death of somebody who I had known for 38 years. And it was me. So it was like so there was a lot of aspects of myself that, even though they weren't serving me in the best way, it was all I knew. And I had to let go of that, because that's the only way to be anything different. And the only way to grow is to like let go of who you were. So that process is really, really challenging, or that process for me was really, really challenging. And I'm so unbelievably grateful that I went through it. And like I was saying, like, I think that once I really had that idea in mind of who I could become and set the intention of letting go of everything else, it just had to happen that way. And it's, like I said, it was challenging. Look at the time, like as you go through the year, there were times where it felt like I was in hell. Like there were times when it was so unbelievably painful, so challenging, so like hopeless. Mm. But what's been really, really cool is going through my journal as I prepared for this and reading my journal over the past year, because it's like you get to see the big picture. You get to see the bird's eye view of my life, not the way I remember it, the way I felt going through it, and feel my thoughts and see like, okay, what was I going through last December, last January, last February? What did I think was important? What was I excited to learn? And then like what really, really challenged me? What days did I sit down and be like, this is so bad, and just like I'll have days where I just get it all out on paper, and it's like you read some of those and it's like, okay, wow, you're having a tough day, but I don't feel bad about it now, because looking at the big picture, it's like, great, that was you letting go of all that negative emotion, like all that resistance, all that pain it's just on that page now. You don't have to carry it around. So the pull my perspective of what I went throughout the year is so different from like that bird's eye view, which is just another reason why I like highly recommend like journaling every day. Because it's so, you can get so lost in day-to-day life sometimes, and having that bird's eye view of what your year, what your month, what your life is like is so useful for putting things in perspective. And then also in the moment, it's a great way to get things out. It's a great way to release, all these emotions and let them move and flow.
How cool is that? I mean, thank you for sharing that, because you have had so many breakthrough moments, and I can see the transformation, and it's funny because you definitely aren't someone who like talks about it too much, and I mean that's fine. Everybody has their own process, but when you do share it, these lipo moments, these things, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I can see how it's unfolded, and now it makes even more sense when you describe things. And I do think it's going to be beneficial. It is beneficial for people already. Like we saw that in Costa Rica when we share and are vulnerable, it allows the space for other people to share and be vulnerable and be like, oh wait, I have these crazy horrific thoughts too. You do as well. I feel like people do talk about it way more, but it's also still weird and strange, and you do have the conditioning of what is someone going to think if I say this, or do you think that they think the same, or so it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's like so much of what I want this show to be, because we can share our experience and just have it there. So when people listen, they can say, oh, I get it. Like I've been through that too, or I'm going through that. And it's like, or I'm having a really, really terrible month, but I never thought to look at it in perspective to the entire year. But it's a completely different perspective. And you realize as you start paying attention, kind of looking at your life from the big picture, that everything is happening for you, not to you. Yeah. And in the moment, sometimes you feel like a victim, and it feels like things are happening to you. And I can't believe this happened to me, and that happened to me. But, 6 months from now, you look back and you're like, wow, thank God those things happened to me, because if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened. And everything is so interconnected and like interwoven together that, I keep saying it, like you set this intent, I set an intention. I had no idea what that was going to actually turn into. And there needed to be these ebbs and flows of it, or it wouldn't have worked. You can't just go up. Nothing is linear.
No.
But if I didn't have the challenges and the painful parts, then I wouldn't have known what to let go of. And then I wouldn't have let go of it, and then I wouldn't be where I am now. So it's like it all has to happen the way that it happens, and we just kind of find ourselves labeling things as good and bad in the moment.
Yes.
But they're just happening.
Yes.
And they're happening because they're fulfilling a bigger agenda, whatever that is. The two other intentions that I had going into the year were to take action every time I feel inspired, which is one that I do think I definitely fell short on this one.
That's a good one. And I fell short too.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's something, but it's so interesting because there's things that I wanted to do that I ended up not doing, that looking back at them now, it's like, okay, I could do a better job now.
Yeah.
So it's like in some ways, and there were some like, there was videos that I recorded that I was really excited to put on YouTube, and then didn't because I wasn't able to upload them.
I
And then I got
this.
really, and I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I got really, really frustrated that it wouldn't work. And now I'm like looking at it and it's like, you know what? I'm kind of glad it didn't work out, because when I record them now, like re-record the videos now, it's going to be a lot better because my perspective has changed so much and I've learned so much in the time since.
There you go.
So it's another example of things working out for me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know that there's also a lot of stuff that I could have done that I didn't do. And that's one when I said before that my intention for this year is like more of the same. Is to like follow through on these goals, because it's not like the intention wasn't wrong. It just wasn't enough follow through or the right follow through. So I'm excited to take action on everything I'm inspired by and to like really, really lean into like what I'm passionate about.
That's really cool.
And just like, yeah. And I'm excited for like the momentum stuff. And like I have a lot of ideas, stuff I want to do on, Instagram and YouTube, and just like ways to take the company that I'm really excited about. That we have a lot of really cool ideas for the podcast.
Yes.
And like interviews set up, like stuff to just like take it to a new level. And
yeah. And I think with the intention that you set here too, it's almost as though when I talked about like give yourself leeway to act on everything you're inspired on, that's a big task.
Yeah.
Because we taped a deep thoughts episode on this. Even when you think of doing something, whether it be like texting someone or going to a different store, it's like that's almost what you need to really build the momentum to help you do the big inspirational things. Because if you're in your head too much and you run this pattern of I have a great idea, like I'll get to it, and then you never get to it. It's just the pattern that keeps perpetuating over and over. But if you're able to act on little things first and get the inspiration, it's going to make it much more easier to do the bigger tasks that you want to accomplish.
And it's helping you to tap into your intuition and recognize like, okay, this is what I want.
Yes.
There's a reason. So I mentioned before, I have 2 random notes written on this page.
Yeah.
The other one is desire is a part of our true expression.
Ooh.
And I have no idea what these were from, like why I have these 2 notes written, like spread out on this page, one at the top, one at the bottom. But desire is a part of our true expression. And it fits so well with what we're saying right here. Because it's like, that's like, when you desire something, it's because like there's something there. There's a connection to it. I think this could be interpreted, I think, in like almost like desiring like material possession. Like that's not what I'm talking about. Like wanting a Ferrari isn't like it could be your true expression. I'm not like, but it's like that's not necessarily what I mean.
Right.
But it's like the desire to play music, for example, or like any kind of art. Like so, like the desire to play music is the ability to play music seeking expression. So it's like if you desire to do something, it's because you are capable of doing it.
Yes.
And that ability is within you trying to get out.
Yeah. That's really cool.
So I think there's a reason for it.
Yes.
And even if it's like with the desire to like text someone you haven't talked to for a couple of years.
Yes.
There's something in there. There's something about your relationship that needs to be expressed and it needs to come out. So I think I haven't talked to him in so long. Like, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. And just never doing it. There's something that wanted to be expressed that you're suppressing. And that's in there still somewhere. So like let those things out. And I think that the more we connect to that part of ourself that wants to come out, it's the more we get connected to like our truest, fullest expression, which is who we chose to be when we came here. It's like the game we're playing is to become that version of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're denying every time that version tries to speak up, we're not playing the game. We're like,
Right.
we're losing the game, whatever it is. And that leads me to my fourth intention for the year was to enjoy the game.
Ooh, yeah.
So you got to play the game too. Like when you have those desires, those passions, those like urges, to follow through on them and have fun doing it. So like music, like maybe if I were to I don't play any music. I don't know how to play music, but if I don't know how to play an instrument, but if I were to like start getting that urge and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start playing an instrument. That's playing the game.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if I suck, I'm like, I'm going to play the piano and I'm terrible. Don't judge myself for being terrible. Enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And then also something I've gotten so much better at as I've changed the way I talk to myself and changed the way I think and changed the thoughts that I choose to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't take things nearly as seriously. Like when you're in that spiral, like that depression spiral we were talking about before, everything seems so serious. And it's like, oh my God, like what are they going to think of me? What other people think of me is that's something that debilitated me for a long time. And I honestly, I'm pretty confident to say I don't give a fuck what people say about me or think about me. Like I'm not for everybody. And the people that I am for are going to find me. And the people that aren't, okay, like go find what makes you happy. I could literally care less. Like I've allowed myself to be so like hurt by like random Instagram comments and like and just like people looking at me funny. Like,
yeah,
I'm just so over giving a fuck.
Yeah.
Parenting can be stressful and even overwhelming, especially if you have an overly sensitive child. What if there was a way to better understand, guide, and nurture your child's unique sensitivity and emotional intelligence to set them up for success on their developmental journey? Rooted Rhythm's signature course, Tuned In, offers a transformational process for parents of highly sensitive, super feeling, wise, and empathetic children. You know, Dan and I don't have children of our own, but we were both highly sensitive children growing up. And we know firsthand how difficult it can be to feel and process emotions in a productive and constructive way at such a young age. Recently, having gone through the Tuned In course, we both took away so much valuable information and practical tools we could utilize to reparent ourselves and to understand how to better use our sensitive nature to deepen our connection to ourselves as well as the world around us. The Tuned In course teaches parents concrete skills to meet their sensitive kids' needs in moments of intensity, increases their ability to connect deeply with their children, and supports a process of inner healing to shift how they relate to parenting. Each module offers unique grounding and embodiment meditations, lectures full of both evidence-based and practical content, and supplementary exercises to support in the implementation of new skills. Parents who have taken this course report walking away from the experience feeling relaxed in their being and confident to parent their children in a way that both feels most true to them as a parent as well as most supportive for their children. If this resonates with you as a parent or simply for yourself, we're excited to offer our listeners $100 off of this transformational course. Click the link in our show notes, which goes directly to the Rooted Rhythm Tuned In course website, and enter the discount code DEEPLIFE, all one word, to receive $100 off of the Tuned In course.
It's almost like you needed that, though, to get you to this point.
Of course, yeah.
'Cause you got some wisdom and some knowledge to share, and it's out there, and I love it, and it's for me. But yeah, it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not for everybody. But you need to. It's almost like you need to be presented with the backlash and the complete opposite opinion, so that you can just say, yeah, you have the right to think, to be, to act however you want to do you. But I'm doing me.
Yeah. I'm going to enjoy the game. Like,
Yeah.
This is, we're literally like, we're here for a short time and
Yeah.
This
It's
year,
also-
if this year's shown me anything, it's like we have no idea how long it's going to
No,
be.
I know.
So I'm not going to have less fun because I'm worried that somebody might judge the fun I'm having.
Yeah.
Like that,
I feel like this is also good for those people. Like, again, just my opinion being thrown out. Anybody who is trolling or leaving these hurtful comments, are you having fun? Like, does this light you up? If it does, power to you. But is it really?
Mhm.
Like, I'm not talking about like healthy debates on, I think this way. I would love to hear your perspective, but like, really, is that fun for you? let's like ask the deeper question here. Are you really enjoying yourself?
Yeah, and like, or am I gonna allow like somebody who's having like a terrible day to make my day terrible? Like, that seems like a poor choice. That's not a thought I want to entertain or an idea I want to worry about. So I'm just gonna be me.
Yeah.
So as part of enjoying the game, I'll say,
Yeah.
it's going to be I'm celebrating everything. I'm done. I'm done not celebrating. I'm done feeling like if I'm like excited about something that people are going to judge me for being too happy too.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what do you want me to do? You want me to be upset because you're upset? Like, I'm not playing that game anymore. Like,
Yeah.
we get to do whatever we want.
Yeah.
And that's it. We just get to we get to choose what we do. And you can choose to be miserable. You can choose to play small and try not to be seen. You can choose to like eke through life, or you can choose to just like fucking, like
Embrace
you said, like, dance through life, have an awesome time, and celebrate the smallest little things. Like, I you know what I love? Having like a delicious breakfast.
Yeah.
And like eating bacon and eggs. And like, this is fucking awesome. This cup of coffee is so good, and I'm having a great day. Like, I want to lean into that. I want to just like, I want to go from like the best workout ever to the best breakfast ever to the best everything. Like, just have the best day, and then tomorrow have like an even better day.
That's what it really is all about,
right? Like, what, you can't convince me that that's not
part of the
way.
game. Yeah.
That's not the game. Like, that's like we're here to be the like fullest, truest version of ourselves. And I don't think you can get that by like judging and shaming yourself into conforming.
I got a intuitive download a while ago. I wrote this down in my notebook. I haven't posted it because it is kind of harsh, but it said like the struggle is real until it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Have I ever told you that one? I
think you did, but I love it.
Because we've been taught that life is hard, life is a struggle, and it is. Like, I struggled immensely this year, but I also chose to. I consciously chose to do that because I almost like needed it for myself. I needed to know a struggle so that I could have the opposing emotion of ease and grace and happiness and fun and like flow.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like the people who struggle through life, it's just become aware that you are choosing that. Life doesn't have to be as difficult as you make it out to be. You're just you're literally consciously choosing, or maybe you're unconsciously choosing if that pattern is there.
But yeah, this is something I kind of want to lean into this a little bit because this is one of the biggest breakthroughs I've had this year. Yeah, is that I have chosen to struggle. Yeah. For so long. Like, I've chosen to make everything harder on myself because I thought there was like virtue in that.
Well, I think you were taught that.
Yeah, it's a program for sure. Yeah. It's like this
I mean, we all were. Yeah. We all are.
Growing up in New England, I think you have this like Protestant work ethic and the
blue collar,
everything's like a blue collar, like grace through works. Like, if you want God to love you, you need to suffer, and God loves the people that suffer the most, and the harder.
How fucked is that?
Yeah, it's so fucked. Like, yeah, it's so fucked.
Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, again, what the shit is this?
And it's like, and I've mentioned on the show a bunch of times before that, like, for a long time, people would talk about like Catholic guilt, and I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't have that. Now it's like,
Yeah, it's
oh,
like really
I know
hard.
what it is, because it's been like,
Yeah. They do a really good job where you don't realize
there's
it.
they are,
Trust me.
as far as
I-
brainwashing goes,
Yeah,
they're
it
the
is
best
unfortunate.
ever. But yeah, but like, it took me like 10 years between the point where I like identified as a Catholic and when I realized that like, oh, I'm still being run by this guilt that I didn't even know was there.
Yeah.
And it's this idea of, for something to be worthwhile, you need to suffer for it. For something to be worthy of something, there needs to be like a pain and suffering involved. And there doesn't. But if you hold that belief like I did for so long, you project a level of suffering onto everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's almost like you put everything just out of reach and then like strive and work and suffer for it, when all you need to do is like move where it is, like just put yourself closer. So like, by removing the need to suffer for good things and just like accepting them because it's my God-given right as a
Sovereign being.
as a sovereign being and an aspect of the divine, I'm entitled to the abundance of nature, and like, I get to share in that with everybody. It's not like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm entitled to it, no one else is. We are all entitled to everything. It's all mental. There's not a limit. We are absolutely limitless beings, and we can have anything we want. And then the thing that some of us want is to suffer and strive for everything that we get. And it's like, it's part that can be the game if you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you can learn through that suffering, and you can struggle as a challenge. And then you can get to a point where you're done struggling and just be like, hey, now it's smile season. Now I'm just going to celebrate and enjoy and receive. And I feel like it's a much better way of living. I'm pretty into it so far.
Yeah, you had the revelation and told me about it, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's huge. I didn't even realize that pattern was unconsciously running in your mind, but it makes sense just knowing you.
Yeah.
But I also feel the same.
I think it's very, very common. Like,
Yeah.
You talk to so many people, and it's like, all they want to do is tell you like how hard they work, how long their hours are, how they don't get paid enough, all the things that like, I got out of work and had to do this and this and this, and the kids were crying and the car broke down, and it's like a badge of pride.
Yeah.
And it's like for me, I wanted, more so than wanting to achieve anything, I wanted everybody to know how hard I had to work to achieve it. Because and this is like a subconscious behavior that I have identified and let go of. But there was a version of me in the past who, more so than achieving anything, wanted everybody to know how hard it was and that I did it anyway. Because like, it wasn't the thing that I was trying to achieve. It was the validation for working hard and overcoming. Which is a strange game to play in a world of unlimited abundance.
Yes. I'm so happy and proud of you for coming to this realization, even though it took you that long. It was perfect the way it unfolded, and it needed to happen. Yeah, it happened that way. Yeah, I think that it is huge, and just being aware of it is the first step into changing it. Like, you've already changed it so much, and now it's like you get to reap the benefits of your newfound awareness and realization. And you did work really hard for a long time, and now it's just like, that's done. It's just going to be so much easier and so much more fun and playful and better, and with so much more ease and fluidity, as opposed to stop, go, resistance here, resistance there. Oh, take this corner, that corner. It's like, no, we're just going to flow, move this way, go with it, go with the current, go with the flow of life. It's just, Yeah.
And I feel like this past year I've had so many of these like little revelations, and like so many aspects of myself were revealed to myself. And I think I'm sure I'm not the only one. I think it's just sort of the age we're living in right now. There is like this mass awakening, and I think so many people are realizing that the way they've been living is no longer serving them. And what's been really, really useful for me and helpful for me is to not judge myself for it. So that's what I kind of want to share. Like, if people are having these huge revelations, it would be really, really easy for me. And I think a past version of myself would have, if I'd learned this, 2 years ago, I would have then got really, really down on myself and beat myself up over making life too hard on myself, which is just like one of the tricks the ego plays in this sort of spiral of like trying to force yourself to stay the same.
For sure.
Where I think it would have been really easy to just like feel so much shame and regret and judgment around not doing things the way I could have. But instead I have the realization that I couldn't have, that I could not have learned this lesson until I did.
Right.
And there's no other way. And like you said, it happened perfectly. Like, it just happened perfectly. And it happened. I needed all the other things to happen in order to see the pattern and to recognize it. So there's no way it could have happened sooner because the other things hadn't happened. So it's just like I said before, it's all happening for me. And it's a matter of just kind of recognizing the things are happening. And he's coughing. It's ridiculous right now.
And he's just leaning against the tripod. I'm like petrified that it's gonna like fall over.
Yeah, he looks comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything's working out exactly how it's supposed to, and working out for me, and that's another thing to celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big time celebration.
Yeah. I'm excited to celebrate you more too. We're gonna celebrate each other a lot more this year, which I'm looking forward to. Do you want to wrap up by talking a little bit about Costa Rica?
Yeah.
And then we can end it.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Do you have
No.
anything else?
I want to talk about Costa Rica.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was just going to start it real quick. I know we've been referencing it so much, but we haven't even really said like what it was.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
But we went down. So Jesse Warner,
who has been a guest on the show
2
twice.
great episodes.
Yes. And he'll be back on again for sure.
Forget which numbers they were.
I know. We didn't look that up.
Maybe like 79 and 89 or something, like somewhere around that time. But I'm very well making those numbers up.
We can list them in the show notes.
But yeah, we'll throw those down in the bottom. But Jesse hosted his first transformational healing retreat in Costa Rica.
And he had a co-host named Brandee, who was spectacular as well and just held so much feminine space for the group. She'll be on the show too. That is going to be another collaboration that we will bring forth, because she has a lot of wisdom and knowledge and life experience, struggles and triumphs too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went down for an entire week. We were on the Nicoya Peninsula, which was beautiful. So we were about 30 minutes outside of Nassau, which is a surf town. We visited there on our day off. We had one day off, the last day, and that was really cool to actually go and see Nassau and stuff. But the retreat itself was Monday to Monday, and it was... People keep asking us if it was relaxing since we've been back. And it's not that it wasn't relaxing, but I wouldn't label it as a vacation.
Not at all.
It was therapeutic, and it is what I needed, and I do believe it's what you needed too.
For sure.
We needed this for individually, for our relationship, for our business, for our souls, for, like we said, we left a lot there that the baggage was ready to be let go of, and it was gone.
Yeah, it came at the perfect time. It was everything we needed.
Yeah, the weather was beautiful. We had one late afternoon, like torrential down Costa Rican storm that is, I manifested it for sure. I said I just wanted to rain like for a little bit one day to see it, to experience it, and it was very cool. It was, the rain was awesome. But yeah, each day, each day we were up at 5 a.m. 5:15, the coffee cart is brought out for us to go to the front and grab coffee, and we congregated. Then at 6 a.m. it was like a group walk to the beach every morning. We stayed there, stared at the sun, looked for shells and rocks, went in the water, Dan went in the ocean a few times. And then at 7 a.m. it was some sort of movement, usually yoga, light movement, either breath work. And then we had breakfast at 8 a.m. every day. Each meal was eaten as a group, which was really nice as well. And then like 9 a.m. started like group sessions or one-on-one sessions, which was super cool. The group sessions were all different. Lots and lots of deep discussions, lots of different exercises, to open our consciousness, to open our third eye, to raise our consciousness, to have discussions of what people are going through. It's always nice to have conversations, to hear what other people are going on in the world, because it made me put me in my place a lot of times. Like, oh shit, okay, there are people that are going through a lot.
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful the way that it was done, because, when we first got there on the Monday, we had like an opening circle. So everybody set the intention of like what they wanted for the trip, what they wanted to gain from it, to let go of, whatever it may be. And Brandee and Jesse were amazing that they really allowed each day to also, like, if it needed to be pivoted or like we did change some stuff, which was really like, Jesse is such an intuitive healer that like when something was off, like we rearranged it. Like the next day was something that, was changed a little bit, and it was perfect. It just, every day flowed wonderfully. It didn't feel like work. It didn't feel like the days were dragging. It just, it was magical and beautiful. And, or the dinners were set. The food was incredible. All of the meals that we had. And then each night, I think there was only one night we didn't have something, but it was like some sort of like either meditation, sound healing. Jesse is an amazing sound healer. Or the yoga nidra that Brandee did was amazing. So there was like something each night. And then we peacefully went to bed every night too, just feeling refreshed and restored. And I feel like every part of my body just has so much life force energy running through it. It's like incredible.
Yeah, really had a bunch of stuff I'd never done, especially in like a group setting like that. And it was really nice to be in a group of people that were so like supportive and
non-judgmental. And it was so refreshing to be around people that like thought the same way. Not that we need that in our lives. That would almost be boring if every single person thought the way that we did. We like the contrast. We like polarity. We like to have discussions because, like I said at the beginning, I know nothing. So I do want, like, if you think differently, please give your opinion if I ask for it. But I think it was just really refreshing to be around a group of people who want to do the deep work. It's not surface level, let me spiritually bypass this, which I've done a lot. So maybe that's why it's come up for me. But people who want to deeply work on themselves, to change their lives, to transform for the better. And it was beautiful to also watch everybody transform. Like no one left the same person when we had that opening circle the Monday we got there, to the closing fire pit circle on that Monday night before we left on Tuesday or whenever it was. It was just like, wow, this is, to witness that, to be around that profound energy of healing and transformation that, of course, Jesse facilitated and Brandee facilitated as well, but we did that. Yeah. Like we did big shit. Like they were there, they were holding space for us and gave us the power to do so, but we did it. And it was very cool. The one-on-one sessions that we had with Jesse were life-changing in and of itself. That
was really cool because it was somebody that we had kind of met through Instagram and the podcast, and we had talked to him like through just the podcast interviews. Yeah. And he's so knowledgeable. It's like just talking to him, it's like this dude knows what he's talking about. He's like, it was always like, I always learned so much from him, from talking to him. And then to see him like in his element, doing like the actual physical healing was profound. And
yeah, he's so inspirational and just magical. He's going to be hosting more retreats for sure. And we will support him however we can, and because I would recommend it for sure. But the one-on-one sessions, he's an acupuncturist, he's a sound healer, he's an intuitive, master, and a Reiki master as well. So that was kind of our one-on-one sessions that were private. And then it was just amazing. We had never done any of that. It's so funny. I said that in the retreat, like, we work on ourselves, we work on our consciousness. It's so much like almost like book work and documentaries, docuseries, podcasts, but like never been to a sound healing, I hadn't been to a Reiki session, hadn't had acupuncture done. So receiving all these things, it's like, oh, wow. Like the realignment that he did with my body and stuff. It was just so cool. And then like the sound healing really blew my mind. I had heard about it from obviously so many people, and like, I know, we follow sound healers, but to actually have it and have it done within just as an individual sound healing, like for specifically what you need. And then we did group sound healing as well. I'm not someone who loves loud noises. Like, I am very, what's the word? How would you? Sensitive to loud sounds and everything. And I was interested at how I would take to the sound healing. It really was just music to my ears. I felt the realignment. Didn't you like feel the cells in your body just like dancing? Like, yes, give me more of this. Like, do the gong, do the, I don't even know how he does
bowls.
The bowls. Just more of this,
like
more.
You feel your body buzzing and like you said,
in
realigning.
The best way. In the best way.
That's something. I feel like if people are like skeptical around sound healing, I would look into like cymatics. Which is the study of water under different frequencies. And you can see how, as the frequency changes, the shape of the water changes into all these like beautiful, coherent geometric structures. And that's what, like, humans are water, like 99% by molecule, 70% by weight. Like, we're made up of water. So when you can see that, you can kind of envision what's going on with the structure of the cells in your body becoming coherent and moving together in these like beautiful forms. And you do feel it. Like, you feel that coherence and like the resonance throughout your body. Yeah.
So cool. And then we had also a transformative psilocybin ceremony. Which we will get more in depth with. We're going to do an interview with someone who's going to help us integrate that. So we'll talk more about that in depth, but it was beautiful. If you've never done a psilocybin actual ceremony, it is just really profound. Man, it's so deeply rooted in like ancestral background and honoring the land, honoring the mushrooms and the medicine in it and their wisdom, because it is not for everybody. That's for sure. If there's one thing that I've learned, and this is technically the third time I've done it, but not in a setting like this where it's like sacred. It's like work is going to be done. We're not going to taking mushrooms into a rave where we're partying. It's like, no, I want to heal myself. I want to uncover these unconscious patterns that are running my life. I need to see, I need to feel, but the mushrooms are going to give you the medicine that you need. And we're going to talk about that more in depth. And there was an intention for specifically that ceremony. We opened the ceremony and then we closed the ceremony, which is also very like profound, and just watching these people of the land do and work their magic and hold space for us and cultivate a ceremony that was so profound is just a lifetime of gratitude for experiencing that. And I can't wait to do more of things like that, because it is, I think, going to become more and more common in the near future. I think that people, like you're saying, like people are waking up to the reality that what's worked for the last 100 years ain't working anymore. And we've got to come up with some alternative, some holistic, some better ways of healing ourselves, healing our mind, healing our body, and healing our soul, so that we can become the truest expression of who we are. So yeah, Costa Rica was a dream. It was just magical and transformational, the therapy that I needed. And I feel, like I said, I feel so much lighter. I left so much grief and so much sadness there. I know that I cried on the podcast here, but this was the first time I've cried since being back to Massachusetts, which is
a huge change.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's yeah, I'm excited to talk more about it, and we will in the coming episodes and stuff.
There's so much power in all that stuff, and just moving energy and setting intentions and really connecting to to yourself
and being consciously aware of the power that we have within us. That was a huge theme that Jesse was able to give us. Like, he knows that. He's got that himself. He was just giving us the space for us to realize it too. We're all sovereign beings. We have the ability to heal ourselves, to change, to choose, to be co-creators of our own life. And you and I, we've known this, but it's almost like we needed to experience it and see other people do it, and then have someone teach us other modalities to put into place as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, just like I was saying before, is like everything happens exactly when it's supposed to happen. I'm so glad that I didn't try to go through an experience like that when I wasn't ready, because like that would have rocked me. But if I hadn't done all the work leading up to it. And I keep saying, like, it was like the culmination of this year of like, I let go of so much throughout the year that I was ready to like really fully let go and allow that to be, like I said before, that rite of passage where I could step through and just be a new person. Where if I had tried to do it a year ago or 2 years ago, I don't know. I don't think it would have gone the same way.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, it just wasn't ready. So it's like, it's just always like, it makes me so happy how things work out so perfectly.
Yeah.
And they always are, the more you recognize it. But I would say, if this sounds interesting and it sounds like an experience people are interested in, we'll have a lot more about this coming up, because we will get Jesse and Brandee on the show, and we'll talk more about plant medicine with some people. And we've got some cool stuff planned.
I can't wait
for the coming months and coming year. I think there's gonna be a lot of awesome stuff coming.
Heck yeah, 2024, man. It's gonna be my smile season, my smile year, and then that's gonna continue. I'm really excited for where we are, where our relationship is, where the podcast's gonna go, where our business is gonna take us, where we may be. Who knows? It's just I feel I'm so excited. So
we'll have some fun. We'll celebrate.
Yeah. So let's cheers to 2024.